In this presentation, part 2 of Managing Student Loan Debt, we'll explore strategies to make student loan debt payment manageable. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to assist your client in managing their student debt burden, apply strategies that are useful in managing federal student loan debt payments, and discuss methods for managing private student loan debt. There are 4 strategies for managing federal student loan debt: debt consolidation, changing the repayment schedule, applying for forbearance or deferral, and loan forgiveness. Let's start our discussion by examining the details of debt consolidation. The federal government permits borrowers to consolidate their individual student loans, which were taken out at different times during their academic career, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year, and to consolidate into one loan. In considering this strategy, you and the client will need to assess the cost benefit. What is the benefit of rolling over the individual loans into one loan? What is the cost of doing that? As I reflect on the benefits, the first item that comes to mind is ease of administration. There's just one monthly payment to make, and this could mitigate the possibility that one of the individual loan payments is inadvertently skipped. With numerous payments required, forgetting about one of them is not uncommon. From a financial viewpoint, there are several potential benefits. The consolidation may give you access to different repayment schedules. This will give you the ability to identify the repayment schedule that best meets the client's needs. For example, a longer repayment period will lower the monthly payment amount. It also resets the forbearance clock. We'll examine forbearance features of federal loans later in the presentation. Also, the consolidation will allow your client to remove cosigners from the original student loans. And typically, that's going to be the parent or a close relative. Of course, you need to balance the benefits of a new loan against the benefits that accompany the original loan. For example, are there any repayment fees incurred, options lost, rebates or interest rate discounts forfeited? Is the client forfeiting any time, which could be applied towards a debt cancellation? It should be noted here that we're focusing on consolidating federal student loan debt with a consolidated federal student loan. If there's private debt, then that is a separate bucket. You'll need to assess those separately, unless you intend to refinance federal debt in with the private debt in a private consolidated loan. What are the characteristics of federal student loan debt? The first characteristic is that the interest rate on the consolidated loan is the weighted average of the loans being consolidated. So what does that mean? Well, if you have a $7,500 student loan at 4% and a $7,500 student loan at 6%, then the new consolidated federal loan, which would be $15,000, would carry an interest rate of 5%. Of course, you'll probably be looking at more than 2 loans, and the loans amounts will be different, but you get an idea that the new interest rate is a factor of the original cost of the loans and the weight of each loan relative to this composite debt amount. Note that any interest is rounded up to 1/8 of a point. Any variable rate federal loans will be fixed at the current variable rate. For example, if the current variable rate was being charged on the debt was 6 1/8 at this point in time, then it would be set at 6 1/8 for purposes of calculating the new weighted fixed rate for the consolidated loan. The client will have access to various extended repayment schedules, which we'll examine later in this presentation. As you will see, some of the schedules may extend out to 25 years. Also note that a debt consolidation separates subsidized loans from unsubsidized loans. Therefore, a client who has a combination of subsidized and unsubsidized loans will want to consolidate, will end up with two consolidated loans. One loan consolidating all the subsidized debt, and one consolidated loan consolidating all the unsubsidized loans. Of course, this will mean that there's two monthly payments, not just one. However, it's important to hold on to those subsidized loans because, as you'll hear later in the presentation, it will make a difference regarding who pays the interest during times of deferment, such as going back to school. The client can consolidate their debt directly on the student loan's government website, My Student Loan, or he or she could call the Department of Education representative who will help them. The second strategy is changing the repayment schedule. Several options are identified on this slide. However, you and the client will need to contact the loan servicer to understand exactly what options are available given the situation. However, I hope that this slide helps to indicate just how many options may be available. The standard repayment plan is a fixed loan paid over 10 years. The graduated option is a serial payment plan. Payments are made monthly, but the amount of the monthly payment increases each year. For example, in the first year, the monthly payment might be $210 per month. In year 2, that payment might increase to $225 per month. The idea is that the payment amount is aligned with expectation for higher future earnings. The extended repayment plan, which may be fixed or graduated, could be paid over a 25-year window. The final 4 options depicted on this slide are linked to income and ability to pay. The income-based and pay-as-you-go repayment plans are based on a portion of discretionary income. The income contingent and income-sensitive repayment plans are based on a portion of gross income. You can learn more about the income-based repayment plan, pay-as-you-earn plan, income contingent plan, and income-sensitive plan by going to studentaid.ed.gov website and searching on repayment plans. Note that one nice feature about the income-related repayment plan is that it offers relief during periods in which the client's income is low. Moreover, for some individuals who never reach high levels of income, there may be forgiveness at some point in time. There is a downside, however. The interest deferred during those periods of deferral does not disappear. It continues to accrue to the amount owed. That's called capitalized. For example, let's say that the client's monthly interest expense is $200, but the recap cap is set at $80 based on gross or discretionary income. That $120 of deferred interest will be added onto the principal due. This could result in a larger loan balance at the end of the income-based repayment period than originally borrowed, and that's called negative amortization. Most of the federal loans, with the exception of PLUS loans made to parents, are eligible for income-related repayment. However, you would want to check with the student aid website. If the loan is eligible for this type of repayment, the borrower will need to qualify annually for the reduced income-based repayments. This means showing partial financial hardship, and that is a function of several factors, including income and family size. If the borrower's income increases to the point that he or she no longer have partial financial hardship, then he or she would stay in the program. However, unpaid interest is capitalized and the monthly payment is capped at what would have been the original 10-year standard payment. Because of the added accrued interest, the repayment might take over 10 years. Let's look at an example of extending the repayment period on a $78,000 school loan at a 6.2% interest rate. As depicted, the monthly payment for a 10-year term is $840 a month. That drops to $667 if you pay that over a 15-year period, and $568 at 20 years. Finally, extending out the loan to 25 years reduces that monthly payment to $512. Of course, a graduated or serial payment would lower the monthly payment even more in those beginning years and increase it in those later years. The federal government allows for temporary loan payment relief. The two temporary relief options are deferment and forbearance. A deferment is a postponement or reduction of monthly payments that is automatically granted if eligible and an application is made. Qualifying events include returning to school at least half-time, participation in a fellowship or rehabilitation training program, economic hardship, military duty. A full list is available on the Student Aid website. Note that during a deferment, the Department of Education pays the interest on subsidized and Perkins loans. However, the borrower will accrue interest on unsubsidized loans. Forbearance is a period during which monthly payments are reduced or suspended, and you're allowed 3 forbearances, and each of these forbearances come within a 12-month increment. You may be granted a forbearance through either a qualifying event, such as a return to school, a residency, a national service, possibly teaching, or a discretionary decision, such as loss of job, illness, earnings are low. However, the approval is not guaranteed, but it is assessed by the loan servicer. It is not a right of the debt holder. Note that unlike deferments, all borrowers, subsidized and unsubsidized loans, accrue interest. This simply delays repayment, and accrued interest is capitalized into the loan balance. Remember that both of these strategies are intended to address only a short-term financial hardness. They are not long-term solutions to cash management challenges. In some circumstances, different types of federal student loan debt may be forgiven, canceled, or discharged. For example, loans are discharged upon total and permanent disability and death. Teacher loan forgiveness programs are available based on subject need and geographical location. Public service loan forgiveness is sometimes available, although this program generally requires 120 payments made without missing a payment in order to qualify. Note that if you're in this program, going back to school is not considered loss of time as it relates to missing a payment. Perkins loans may be canceled or discharged based on service in the Peace Corps, military, healthcare, law enforcement, or family service fields. Again, refer to the Student Aid website for a complete list by type of loan. We just covered the 4 strategies for dealing with federal student debt. Now let's take a few moments to take a look at student loans that were borrowed from private lenders, banks. So, what are the differences between private and federal loans? Well, generally, bank loans are more inflexible than federal student debt. Many of the federal student debt options are not there, such as deferments, cancellation, debt cancellation, automatic consolidation features. Although you could certainly try to renegotiate or consolidate the current debt. Typically, The private debt will be variable rate, and the interest rate was based on a combination of credit rating and market rates, market interest rates. In assessing your client's private school loans, and because they are so different, it's important you understand the specific terms of each loan, including terms of the loan, the repayment options, the possibility of hardship, deferments, or whatever, and late fees. What can you do to restructure a private or bank loan? You might attempt to renegotiate with the current lender for a rate change or a change in the repayment schedule. You could consolidate those private school loans into one loan that might have a lower interest rate and a more favorable repayment schedule based on the client's situation. Knowing that the cost of private debt is partially based on credit rating, it makes sense to try and improve the credit score. I refer you to the pre-recorded lecture entitled Credit Scores and Building Good Credit. Of course, always comparison shop with lenders. The cost of debt, fees, and service will vary greatly. In prioritizing how to pay off debt, you need to think about the cost of the various debts, the flexibility of each loan in respect to monthly payments, and the tax benefits. The table on this slide compares 5 types of debt: credit cards, auto loans, home mortgage, federal student debt, and private student debt. Your job as the advisor is to help the client understand the best balance considering the monthly cash flow situation, the client's goals and priorities, and anticipated events. In this lesson, you learned about consolidation of federal student loan debt, available modifications in repayment schedules for federal student loan debt, temporary relief from monthly federal student loan debt payments, forgiveness programs for federal student loan debt, and restructuring and renegotiating private student